Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Bonsai. It's been a while, hasn't it? It has. Lots happened, hasn't it? Well, I'm glad to let you guys know I'm still here. I'm doing well. I'm doing fantastic considering what I got in the mail today. Because what I got in the mail is 100% American made, 100% American materials, printed in the US, miniatures made in the United States. Impossible? Au contraire. Thanks to the fine gentleman at Echelon Software, I am reviewing this Black Powder Red Earth 28 millimeter unforgiving close combat, a failed state at war. This, first of all, these guys first got on my radar when I was perusing Patreon, and I noticed that they had a Patreon for this, specifically for like comics, graphic novels. So I said, yeah, what the hell, $5 gets you in, gets you a free copy of the current rule book, which is this one, and then the next one, which is Phase Line. Says $5. I've spent $5 on worse things, so I bought it and I devoured all of those graphic novels within 2 days. Like, they were fantastically written, fantastically illustrated. As you can see from the cover art, the art is basically indicative of the level of quality that you have here. So what we have here is we have a, let's see, page one, we have an 87-page rule book, but from here to here, that's the rules. So 24 to 39, so that's what, like 15 pages, just to kind of understand everything. And then you have the Conflict Bible, which is kind of like your fluff section, or basically your background to kind of get you in. Then you have, basically the cards that come with the game, and they tell you what's on each one and how to deploy them and whatever. Again, printed, manufactured in the USA. This does not feel like a cheap book. It feels fantastic, glossy, almost like a good comic book. If you've ever used to read like trade paperbacks, like I used to read a lot of Star Wars graphic novels when those came out, like Heir to the Empire. That graphic novel was fantastic. I think it was made by Dark Horse. But these guys, this feels exactly like that, and I'm getting some real nostalgia here. So basically you start here with the Conflict Bible, and this kind of tells you, who the major movers and shakers are. You get, again, more fantastic art spread, kind of what each thing is. And the other thing about this is, if you're a gun person, like I've shot guns, I don't own a firearm currently, but it's whatever. I don't have anything against them. I just, it's just not a thing for me right now. Mostly because I'm sinking all my money into shit like this. So what we have here is these guys that at Echelon also work in the industry of, firearms, equipment, that kind of thing. So these guys know what they're talking about. Actually, there was a Grand Thumb episode that spoke specifically to the M4 carbine build that Crisis Troop Scorch uses, which I watched that. I didn't understand most of it. I'm still filling those knowledge gaps. But yeah, so it's, again, extremely well done. And then you have kind of the OPFOR, which are the IRE Guard, who are religious fundamentalists from the Middle East. Draw those lines without me having to get booted off of YouTube amongst everything else. And then you have the Hongbin Enabling Forces. This is basically a made up, as far as I'm aware, Chinese company that's trying to secure the rare earth metal stuff, rare earth metals for Chinese manufacturing, and kind of in support of the Belt and Road project that the Chinese are executing. So again, incredibly well researched. And then you have kind of the other parts of the nation that are going on. Again, just fantastic. And here we finally come to the core rules. So you have the battle space components. So basically what you need, this is a D10 system. Now, I like a D10 system, especially the way that this system executes it. But yeah, get yourself some D10s, because I feel like a lot of game players, especially like BattleTech, Warhammer, that kind of thing, they're scared of D10s. Don't be scared. D10s are your friend. Just go with it, you know? So there's that. And then you've got actual description of the cards and how the cards break down. Then you have the markers and chits. Basically, there's a minimum number of things that you're going to need to keep track of kind of extraneously. And that's one of the things I actually really love about this game so far, is the amount of tokens is just right. Like, don't get me wrong, I like a game with some tokens. I'm kind of a self-professed widget guy. I love me some gameplay widgets, but literally that's it. You know, these four or five things, if you want to count the turn counter plus the current turn chit rather. If you want to count those as 5 tokens, 5 board state tokens you got to keep track of. So it's either you're activated or you're not. It's a frag grenade, named area of interest, or a tactical exploitation token, and then a turn counter with a turn counter chit. And we're going to be looking at these two because this is going to be a pretty big review for me. Ranging, so you have the range, you have how the template works. I really like the scatter mechanics in this game. They make a lot of sense. The line of sight rules make a lot of sense. One of the big things for me is the way explosions work. So, you know, in 40K, it's like you drop the big 5-inch template on somebody, and then, you know, everybody under it gets hit, regardless of whether they're inside a building or outside a building. Not so here. So basically, if I were to throw a grenade, lands right here, and you can't draw a line from A to B. So this guy over here, he's unaffected because that line doesn't intersect his model or his base. And then same thing with this guy. These two guys are affected, even though this guy's outside through a window. So there's that. And then you have how doors work, because doors are a thing. I've got a big bag of stuff here to show you guys with that, just demonstrating that. And then we have, you know, how attacks work, and then you have the phases. So this is also something that's going to be kind of foreign at first for most people that are used to the move, shoot, assault, turn rhythm, like a 40K thing. This is direct fire. So basically you shoot first. So when you get a turn, you get to shoot first. Then you have the maneuver phase, where you actually move your character and you kind of attack, kind of like a combined, you know, 2 thing. And then the finishing phase, where things like grenades go off and, you know, super close combat takes place. Like you have somebody within like 6 inches of you, they're going to take a pop at you, or 3 inches rather. They're going to take a pop at you. And the way the rhythm of the turn works. Oh, look at that, his turn. So you have, you know, how you set up, quick reaction, you know, basically army building, direct fire, maneuver phase, and then you have the finishing phase, and, you know, finally cleanup. So really what you do is you figure out your list, you figure out what unit you play. So you say new turn, and then direct fire phase. So you go down the line of, if I'm the attacking player in the scenario card that calls for it, I always move first. And you can pass. And it's not like BattleTech where like you have to activate something during that phase. You can actually pass. Now in BattleTech, I know you can kind of pass, kind of do a mild pass by basically saying, okay, this mech or this infantry unit or whatever, they're gonna activate, but they're not going to execute any maneuvers or anything. So it's basically you're syncing an activation. You can just pass. And if both players Both players continue the sequence until either both of them pass or all the units that can be activated are activated. Anybody that's not eligible to activate doesn't activate. And then you go to the maneuver phase, and then you activate. You kind of go down the list again, and you kind of go back and forth until nobody wants to activate anymore. Then finishing, and then it's same rhythm. So it's really quick. And that's the other thing about this game, is that like a single engagement can take like 30 minutes. So like the preferred way to play is the operations, where basically operational night raids, where you can string 3 to 5 operations together, and it's basically like you play the best out of 3, best out of 5, and for each one of these you get a special, for each win you get a special card that you can use during that operation. And there's also some card play mechanics in here that are actually really slick that I really like as well. And so this part here is taskings, and I really like the taskings because they sound like death metal bands. So Infel, Oasis Hemlock, a Veiled Fever, so continue. Evergreen Citadel, Amber Lathe, Quivering Briar, just stuff like that. So this basically goes over, how who sets up where, the organization, who's the assaulter, who's the defender, what your objectives are, and any effects on an ongoing campaign. And they're basically divided into 3 different operation types. There's infill, actions on, and exfil. So here we're looking at the exfil, and these usually take the form of putting the Scorch guys as the defender, as opposed to the Ayari, or the fundamentalist, the Ayari guard they're called, on the attack, as opposed to having it the other way around. In battle spaces. And again, something else about this game that I really enjoy is how compact the experience is. That's a 2x2 board. So this ain't no 40K with a bunch of sparse maps and like 3 pieces of terrain and maybe some waist high cover. No, this is, you have to be very aware of your surroundings. And of course you have, all the different cards. So this is basically where, so you're in the middle of the city sprawl, you're kind of in like a border town, and then you have the warfighter units. And the warfighter units, honestly, some of this writing is just fucking peak. I fucking love it. So really great stuff. So this is the other thing, again, about this game that I keep harping on. Simple, quick, simple. But simple doesn't mean bad. One of my favorite games, up until Games Workshop happened, was Middle-earth strategy battle game. And that's one of those games that was designed originally by Alessio Cavatore, and the stated purpose was to be easy to get to grips with, but difficult to master. This is that game. The mechanics are super simple, but the way things interact and combine and unlock, this is going to give you a lot of fun. So here we have, the Crisis Troop Scorch guys. So you have the Operational Advisor, who gives you access to a UAV. So you can drop like a high explosive pretty much anywhere on the table if you're positioned right, and causes a huge amount of damage. You have the Crisis Troop Assaulter, who carries frag grenades. You have the Automatic Rifleman, who of course is going to be that guy that's kind of your base of fire, waiting for people to come out in the open. Because the other thing about this system is you can do like a reaction. So if somebody moves into your line of sight, you can say, okay, I'm going to use my action to take a pop at them. Usually there's big penalty, but with these guys, if they're tied up against a wall, they ignore the penalty for shooting at somebody as a, what they call immediate reaction. And So it just completely removes that penalty, and the way the rules work means that whoever's getting shot at, they're going to know about it. So there's very, and just looking at the two hit numbers now. Here's the thing: these are all 2d10s. So on an obstructed line of sight hit, so no matter what the situation is, okay, I can't see the center of your base, but I can see some part of your base. Obstructive line of sight hit, I need to roll 9 or higher on a 2d6. And then if I have if I'm doing immediate reaction, that I got to roll basically that plus 3. So it's really slick. Then you have the recce guys. These are door kicker, have the door kicker ability, which means because again, one of the things I said was that doors are really important in this game. So the ability to move forward and get a free action to remove a door or to open a door is fantastic. Like, that's definitely not to be sniffed at. So there's that. And then you have the IRE guard guys. And this is kind of where this game gets spicy, because not only do these guys have frag grenades, they have S vests, which are bombs strapped to the individual that they then detonate while the thing is still on their person. So again, this game doesn't pull any punches about this stuff. Like, this entire unit entry is just gnarly. You can probably screenshot it and read it for yourself, but I highly encourage you, just if you're on the fence about this, because the other thing is you can just spend $5 on the Patreon and get access to a bunch of free PDF stuff if you're a digital guy like me. But honestly, this book is so good, I don't mind it. I don't mind having a physical book instead of a PDF document. So, but then you can kind of have your basic dog's bodies. They're called Guard Shirta. Then you have the Hongbin Enabler, who again gives you access to a UAV. Then you have kind of these mercenaries that are working with these guys, and then you have kind of your list of cards and tokens, and that kind of tells you everything that you have available in the card deck. Now, the way that the cards work in this game is some of them are branded to a specific faction, right? So this is the IRE Guard symbol, and this is the Cold Harbor Crisis Team Scorch. So, which means you can only use these cards. That card you can only use for IRE Guard players, and then this one you can only use if you're playing Crisis Troop Scorch. You get to choose 3 of those at the start of the game, and then and you allowed to basically follow the card text, and it allows you to clutch something. So if it's like, oh, I moved too far, you can move backwards, you know. So or you can re-roll a hit or a armor save, that kind of thing. And then you have the special intervention cards, which are the ones that you accumulate after you do an operation. So if you're doing a full night raid, like a 3 mission or a 5 mission thing, you play a night raid and you win, and then you get either assigned by one of these, or you get to pick one of these. And again, some are faction specific. Then you have the tasking cards. So this basically breaks down, you know, what was earlier in the book. Then you have the battle space. So you're going to create kind of your own side deck, and you're going to pull from this pool of layouts. Same thing with your tasking cards. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So you have 11 tasking cards with 5 possible combinations of battle space. And then you have atmospherics, and atmospherics is basically like, is the you know, what's the weather like, you know. So you have either clear skies, or or you have like a full moon, or you have like a sirocco, a sandstorm, a blood rain. So and again, and you even get a little comic in the back here. It's absolutely, again, the art is absolutely indicative of how beautifully executed this is, and I highly recommend, even if you don't buy the physical copy, get the PDF from their website, and yeah, that's it. So I'm going to put this away. And then the next video I'm going to work on is we're going to work on kind of the gameplay accessories and, bits and bobs that go along with that. So thank you guys for your time. Have a great evening.